The alarm rang at 4:30 a.m., as it did every morning. The room was cold, the walls were cracked, and the single bulb hanging from the ceiling flickered like it was unsure whether it wanted to keep going. Armin opened his eyes slowly and stared at the ceiling, wondering what the point of it all was. He was 22 years old, with no degree, no connections, no money, and no one cheering him on. All he had was a long list of failures that people loved to remind him of. He had heard the same words so many times that they echoed in his mind, even when the world was silent. You're not smart enough. You don't have talent. Be realistic. People like us don't make it big. Those words had become heavier than reality itself. Armin grew up in a neighborhood where dreams were considered luxuries and survival was the only priority. His father worked long, exhausting shifts at a factory, and his mother stitched clothes at home late into the night to help pay the bills. They were loving parents, but they were practical. They wanted safety and stability for their son. Get a stable job, his father would often say. Don't chase impossible things. But Armin didn't just want stability, he wanted impact. He wanted to build something of his own and prove that circumstances did not define destiny. Yet every attempt he made seemed to fall apart. He tried learning new skills, but he struggled. He attempted a small online business, but it failed. He applied for jobs again and again, only to receive rejection emails that felt like quiet confirmations of what everyone else believed about him. One evening, after reading another rejection message, Armin sat alone on the rooftop of his building. The city lights shimmered in the distance, while he felt completely still, almost invisible. Tears filled his eyes, not because he had failed, but because he had begun to believe he was incapable of succeeding. For the first time, quitting felt peaceful. No more pressure, no more expectations, no more trying and falling short, just acceptance, just surrender. But then, he remembered something his mother once told him when he was learning to ride a bicycle as a child. If you fall and stay down, the ground becomes your home. But if you fall and stand up, the road becomes your teacher. Sitting there under the dark sky, he realized failure had been trying to teach him all along. He simply hadn't been listening. That night, he made a quiet decision. Not a dramatic promise to become rich or famous, but a simple commitment. He would not quit on himself. He didn't promise instant results. He didn't promise recognition. He promised effort, consistent effort, even if no one noticed, even if no one believed in him, especially then. The next morning, when the alarm rang at 4:30, he didn't wait to feel motivated. He understood something important. Motivation is temporary, but discipline can be permanent. He built a simple routine. Wake up early, exercise, read daily, practice his chosen skill for hours, and reflect each night. It wasn't glamorous or exciting, but it was consistent. In the beginning, nothing changed. There was no sudden success, no applause, no money pouring in. There were only long days and quiet nights filled with practice and doubt. The hardest battle wasn't with the world, it was with the voice inside his own head. That voice whispered that he was wasting time, that it wouldn't work, that he had already failed before. Every day that voice tried to convince him to stop, and every day Armin answered it with action. When the voice said he was too tired, he studied one more hour. When it said he wasn't talented, he practiced harder. When it said no one cared, he reminded himself that he cared. Self-motivation, he discovered, is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet persistence. After 6 months of steady effort, something small happened. A freelance client accepted his proposal. The payment wasn't large, but to Armin, it meant everything. It was proof that progress was real, even if it was slow. He printed the payment confirmation and taped it to his wall, not as a trophy, but as evidence that consistent efforts produces results. Months turned into a year. He continued learning, improving, and refining his skills. There were still setbacks. Some clients disappeared, some projects failed, some days exhaustion nearly overwhelmed him. But his perspective had changed. He no longer measured success by speed, he measured it by consistency.
As he became more disciplined, he noticed that some friends drifted away. They laughed at his routine and questioned why he worked so hard with no visible reward. "Live a little," they would say. But Armin understood something they didn't. He was living. He was building. And building requires sacrifice. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Some people only see the outcome, not the process. He stopped seeking approval and focused on progress. 2 years after that night on the rooftop, an email arrived that changed everything. A well-known company had discovered his work online and wanted to hire him for a major role. The offer included a salary higher than anything he had imagined. He stared at the screen in disbelief. This wasn't luck. It was the result of countless early mornings, late nights, silent struggles, and the decision he made not to quit. When he told his parents, his father was quiet for a moment before saying, "I'm proud of you. Not because you succeeded, but because you didn't give up." Those words meant more than the job itself. Years later, when people asked Armin for the secret to his success, they expected a complicated answer. They wanted a shortcut to a special formula, but his answer was simple. He decided not to quit. Self-motivation is not about waiting for inspiration. It is about showing up when you don't feel like it. It is about choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. It is about believing in yourself when there is little evidence to support that belief. If you feel behind in life, if people doubt you, if progress seems slow, remember that growth often happens beneath the surface. Just like roots grow underground before a tree becomes visible, your efforts are strengthening you in ways that you cannot yet see. The world may not notice your discipline, your sacrifices, or your resilience right now, but one day the results will speak for themselves. No one is coming to rescue your dreams. No one can push you every single day. At some point, you must become your own source of motivation. You must choose yourself when others don't. Because when no one believes in you, the most powerful thing you can do is believe in yourself and keep going.